Shalom, and thank you for tuning into this week's message. Our hope at New Heritage Community is to bring God's Word to you in a relevant and meaningful way as we partner together for revival and reformation on earth as it is in heaven. May you be blessed with today's message.
Good morning, everybody. Do you ever wonder how people get through life without experiencing the presence of God? I mean, really, how do they do it? I literally could not survive if I didn't regularly, in some way, shape, or form, experience God's presence, especially this morning. So thank you, worship team, for helping me transition into the presence of God. I feel much better. Thank you. Are you guys feeling better now? You know, that's the beauty of being a church. Church provides these wonderful opportunities to experience the presence of God. You know, yesterday we had our first Havdalah. Can you say Havdalah? Havdalah. Our first Havdalah service. And if you don't know what a Havdalah service is, it's an ancient Jewish tradition. In fact, Jesus actually celebrated it. And it closes the Sabbath. So you start Shabbat on Friday evening as the sun sets, and you end Shabbat. Did I say Saturday? Did I say Friday evening? Yeah, Friday evening. And Havdalah closes it Saturday at sunset. So we had our first Havdalah service here yesterday during the day, and it was, all I can say is the presence of the Lord was here. And I just want to give some special thanks this morning because Rick and Bonnie just did a great job. They did the presentation. Fran Tucci, I wish she was here. What she did here to create I'll use a Dave Fritz word, ambiance. She created an ambiance that was just heavenly. And then, of course, Fran Brooks makes her shepherd's pie, which was directly descended from heaven. Food for the gods. Thank you. So anyhow, you know, if you ever get a chance to come to any of our Shabbat services, I'm sure we'll do more Havdalah services now, but it's just another opportunity to do something, to experience something that Jesus did that ushers in the beautiful presence of the Lord. So, all right. So here we are. We're on week 3 of our Sermon on the Mount study, and this one's on Jesus and righteousness, and we're studying Matthew 5, verse 17 to 20. It's a shorter passage this morning, where Jesus teaches about the righteousness that fulfills the Torah and the prophets. Hopefully you were able to view the commentary, the video commentary, but if you weren't, I mentioned last week that the Bible Project has two video series. One's 14 episodes, the other is 10. So I'm going to show you this morning one that no one has seen yet. And it's from the 10-episode version, and it's on Jesus and the Torah and how he understands true righteousness. It's only 5 minutes. So here we go.
We're exploring a well-known collection of teachings by Jesus called the Sermon on the Mount.
Jesus spent most of his time with the poor and insignificant people of his day, and he claimed that God's rescue of the world was beginning through him and them.
What was God rescuing the world from?
Well, it's a rescue from the kind of world we've created by our selfishness and our contempt for others that leads to violence, and it's a rescue into communities of wholehearted love and respect. Jesus described this way of life by using an ancient biblical word, righteousness. A righteous person is someone who consistently does right by God and right by others. Jesus said, those who live this way are entering the kingdom of the skies.
Okay, but life is messy. In any given situation, how are we even supposed to know what it means to do right by everyone?
Yes, that is the question. So remember, Jesus was an Israelite, and the people of Israel had a specific answer to that question that was simple and profound. To do right by God and people, you need to learn God's wisdom.
And how do you get God's wisdom?
Well, for Israelites, you find God's wisdom by meditating on their scriptures, called the Torah and Prophets.
The Torah, that's the first 5 books of the Bible.
Right. In Hebrew, Torah means teaching, though it's often translated in our Bibles as the law.
But these books aren't just laws.
Right. The Torah is a story about God's plan to partner with humans in ruling the world. And when humans ruin that partnership through stupidity and violence, God begins a rescue plan. First, by choosing and then rescuing the Israelites, and then by inviting them into a covenant relationship.
Right, the story of Moses on Mount Sinai. That's where they get all these commands to live by.
Yeah. Now, after the Torah come the prophets, who continue the story. They show how Israel failed to live by God's wisdom by violating those commands. But they also wrote poetry about how that failure was not the end of the story. God was going to bring this partnership to its fulfillment. And for Jesus and his people, the Torah and the prophets, they reveal God's wisdom to anyone who will meditate on them day and night.
Okay, but let's go back to all those commands. How do you find God's wisdom in an ancient law code?
Yeah, totally. The laws in the Torah were ancient even to Jesus, given centuries earlier when the Israelites could live free on their own land. But in the time of Jesus, they were occupied by the Romans. They couldn't even follow many of the laws as originally stated.
Okay, so that's a problem.
And on top of that, the 613 laws in the Torah are not a comprehensive rule book. And so there arose teachers of the Torah called scribes and Pharisees, and they would fill in the gaps by discerning God's wisdom underneath the laws, so they could apply it to other areas of life. For instance, the Torah said Israelites should stop working 1 day a week.
Right, but what counts as work?
Well, the Torah doesn't actually give a full definition, and so the scribes would study the scriptures and provide a comprehensive list that people could live by.
They're applying God's wisdom to everyday life so they can do righteousness before God and others.
Right. Now, Israel's teachers didn't always agree with each other, and Jesus would often wade into these debates, sometimes agreeing and other times disagreeing with the scribes and Pharisees.
And that would make them worry. Maybe Jesus doesn't take the Torah and the prophets seriously enough.
And so Jesus responds to this concern in the Sermon on the Mount when he says, "Don't suppose that I've come to dismantle the Torah or the prophets. I haven't come to dismantle them, but to fill them full."
What does that mean? That Jesus came to fill the Torah and prophets full?
Well, remember, the scriptures tell the story about God's plan to partner with Israel and all humanity in ruling the world. And Jesus claimed that he was taking that story forward, showing how to be righteous and live by God's wisdom.
That's quite a claim.
Yes. Jesus even said that his vision of righteousness was more in line with God's wisdom than anyone else in his day. He said, "Unless your righteousness far surpasses that of the scribes and Pharisees, you won't enter the kingdom of the skies."
That's intense.
It is. But as we'll see, Jesus is offering a bold and beautiful vision of human life. How to build healthy communities and heal broken relationships, and how to transform hostility into honor and respect.
Which is great, but can you give me an example?
Actually, Jesus is going to do just that in 6 case studies. Each time he'll quote a command from the Torah and then explain how it reveals God's wisdom, so that we can learn how to consistently love God and do right by our neighbor.
Now, as you've watched these videos, have you noticed that they say kingdom of the skies instead of kingdom of heaven? Does that bother anybody? That bothered me. It's like, why are you saying that? Kingdom of the skies? So I decided to investigate. So here's what I learned. It's a translation of the biblical term that some modern translations use instead of the kingdom of heaven. Why? To emphasize the actual original Hebrew and Greek meaning of the word, and refers to, in the Greek and Hebrew, to what's called the celestial realm. Okay? So, I'm going to read this. While the kingdom of heaven became the common phrase, kingdom of the skies aims to encourage a more literal understanding of Jesus' words as referring to God's rule in this life versus just the afterlife. So, kingdom of the skies, when you read it, it's like, okay, they're trying to say that Jesus is ruling, not just in heaven, in the afterlife, but he's ruling now. He has authority over the world right now. He's reigning and ruling. So, that's good. That helped me. All right. I need a volunteer to read the passage for this morning. So, do I have a volunteer? Not all at once. Dave Fritz, you're always good. Okay, come on, Dave. It's right here.
Okay. Think not that I have come to abolish the law and the prophets. I have come not to abolish them, but to fulfill them. For truly I say to you, till heaven and earth pass away, not an iota, not a dot will pass from the law until all is accomplished. Whoever then relaxes one of the least of these commandments and teaches men so shall be called least in the kingdom of heaven. But he who does them and teaches them shall be called great in the kingdom of heaven. So I tell you, unless your righteousness exceeds that of the scribes and Pharisees, you will never enter the kingdom of heaven.
Thank you, Dave. Yeah. Okay, so here are the questions for this morning for our discussion groups. Now, I did add the first one, so you don't have that on your insert. But it says, try to remember the first time you read this passage. What was your reaction? I remember mine. And then we have the other questions. And I just want to say a couple of tips before we break into our groups. If you don't get through all the questions, that's okay. If you get through them all, wonderful. But if you don't, what's important is that you're able to get into the Scripture to the degree that you can and share what God has given you and put on your heart. Also, secondly, that that you make room for everyone in your group that would like to share. So it's always be mindful that we have limited time, and so that anybody who wants to share can share. And also to make sure you allow time for prayer. We do want to close at 12, so that means being mindful, particularly you facilitators, being mindful of the time, so that at 5:10 of 5 of, that you can transition and pray for anything or anyone who would like prayer. And I'll give a 5-minute warning at 5 of 12 just to let you know that we're almost to our closing time. So, Bob, do you need to give some instructions?